ain't good for games. Say it to my face. Say it to my...
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You've tuned in to the flyest sports and entertainment podcast in all the land. This is Stat Lines Matter. I am your host, Mark E. Stewart, and I'm here with my partner in crime, as I am every week, Mr. Rob Hunter Jr. I always like to put the junior on there.
What's up? Oh.
Get it.
Oh. What's up, man?
Oh, you throw it back to me? Oh.
Yeah, I pass it.
You pass it back?
Hey, let me selfish
Hey,
not
he's
to
in
pass
here
it.
doing. He's in here doing.
And
his,
I pass it to everybody listening. Oh,
he's popping and
yeah.
locking.
It's Shit. Let's get it.
What's going on, my brother?
Hey, man, I'm happy to be back in here doing this, and I'm happy to be breathing.
Yeah, me too. Likewise. We have a lot of interesting sports stories, particularly this week. What I wanted to sort of get into initially was this, which I think is a game changer. The California state legislature passed a law that I think can change the landscape of college football, giving the players that play in the state of California the opportunity to exploit their likeness and to make money from their likeness while they're in school. And what I believe ultimately inspired this legislation, I don't know if you know the backstory, but former UCLA champion, I forget what year he played on, Ed O'Bannon, ended up filing a lawsuit against the NCAA because they licensed what was at the time the NCAA basketball game. And he was playing it, and it sort of occurred to him, or somebody told him, he was playing with himself. He was playing with UCLA, and he's playing with his teammates. Like, you know, he was 6'9", the player on the game was 6'9", it was UCLA, it was his number. And they were like, man, you must be making a ton of money. And he was like, we don't make any money off of this. And it sort of sparked the idea for the lawsuit. And I believe the lawsuit is and that was years and years and years ago. And what ended up happening,
He won
the lawsuit, and they stopped making NCAA games. Instead of trying to figure out a way to pay the players or push the money through to the players, they just wiped the game away. So you don't get NCAA football or basketball anymore as a result of
game
this.
that I used to enjoy.
I used to love, particularly the recruiting mode. That was hype, trying to get a top 10 class. But I think this changes the game because there's a lot of layers to this and a lot of potential here. What were your initial thoughts when you heard this? Because now I'm hearing that there's other states looking to pass certain legislation that's like in the same line as this.
Yeah, I initially, well, it was mixed feelings initially, and it still is mixed feelings because I understand what they're trying to do, and I also understand that, you know, the NCAA is making billions of dollars. Also, you know, everyone involved outside of the actual athletes are making money, particularly from football and the basketball, but football obviously is number one. But it's mixed feelings because I feel like on the surface, it's a good thing, but when you start to look at it from a little bit deeper, I think that it could present some problems, particularly from a recruiting perspective, because now that they've basically opened the floodgates for basically all endorsements. Now they can't make money directly from the NCAA, but that they can make money from, if they wanted to make money from signing autographs or car dealerships, or they can sign with a soft drink company. And I felt like, well, yeah, that's cool, but you know, if you are making, how do you, if at 18 years old or 19 years old, if you just got a check for $50,000, how are you equipped to handle that? What's your motivation to go to class? What money does is it gives you options. And when you're that young, you generally aren't the best at making the best financial decisions. And so I feel like with that type of added element, I feel like it could present probably more problems than it solves. Then you have the added the added factors of, let's say, boosters. Now all of a sudden you want a 5-star recruit. Well, hey, if you come here, I'll give you an endorsement for this. I'll give you an endorsement for that. And so now from the recruiting perspective, it can get really convoluted because now you can have basically fake endorsements, a guy just funneling money, into these recruiting classes, getting people to sign from sham endorsements. So basically, I think it can turn into, I think it should be capped. Or if you're going to get the money, let's say if it's uncapped, then I think they should force these guys to maintain some sort of grade point average and take a finance and marketing course so they can learn how to handle this cash. I don't think you just give it to them. Not to mention, a lot of these people are coming from what LeBron said, it was just me and my mama. And okay.
LeBron doesn't talk like that.
And that's great. That's great that, it's me and my mama.
He doesn't talk like that.
And so I'm like, all right, well, I get that. But then now you have the added pressure of people back home knowing that you have, 6 figures and you're 18 years old, you're 19 years old, and now you got people pressuring you, asking you for money. Or do you go to this endorsement, gig, or do you go to class, or like, and these kids are hard to coach. Some of them are hard to coach, the top athletes as it is. Now you're dealing with somebody who, just cashed a check for $150,000 from Gatorade or Coke. How much harder would it be to get through to this kid? So I just feel like it should be capped, or at least there should be some incentive from a academic perspective to be able to take advantage of this. You got pro athletes messing up money. Pro ones. You got pro athletes messing up $50, $60 million contracts. How do you think a child that came from no financial background is going to be able to handle this added element? So I just think that on the surface it sounded good, but I think that, it requires a little bit more refining.
Okay, let me unpack, because you said a lot, and I want to unpack it and sort of address it. The only thing you said that I agree with is the capping. So that you're not. So let's say, for instance, Nike. Let's use Zion as an example. Nike wants to sign Zion to the deal that they signed him to. Like not even a year later. Like he was a part of Duke's Duke's academic institution
for like 6 months. Yeah.
If that.
Yeah.
Long enough to maintain eligibility through the first semester. And then the second semester, he didn't have to go to class. He didn't have to do anything. He was effectively a professional athlete from when he was in high school. He just wasn't able to get the money. So what you do is say, maybe, let's say for like a nice round number, you say you limit this to $100,000 in terms of what you can take then. Now you can, he signs for $80 million. You get $100,000 now. The deal's in place. The minute you're out of there, you start to. It kicks in.
I actually thought about that.
Yeah.
Some sort of trust or something.
Yeah,
like that.
This is how much money you can get, so no one can get more than, let's say, that number. I don't disagree with that. Everything else I disagree with, because first of all, when you start talking about boosters and you start talking about incentivize, all that stuff goes on now. And it's done underneath the covers. It's done behind the curtain. At least this way, it brings it out front and eliminates some of the corruption that we see in college sports. We don't even talk about what happens in college basketball with the shoe companies, where they're like, Duke is a Nike school, Kentucky is, I believe it might be a Nike or Adidas school, or Arizona. Kids are making choices based on apparel deals that they're doing and are being associated with much earlier in their high school careers. So right now, all this stuff is done in the dark. The second thing is, why is it when it comes to like football and basketball, which are both sports that are primarily black people dominated, that we start worrying about how they can handle money? Do we worry about how the gymnast, the 13 or 14-year-old gymnast, handles her money from Cheerios or her money from the Wheaties box or whatever after she go to the Olympics and win at 14? Nobody says, well, she's not going to go to class or she's not going to do this. Nobody says that about like the tennis players when they turn pro. Like, oh, well, we got to make sure that she's getting all this bread, that she's going to go to class. Nobody gives a shit if Coco Gauff goes to class. Nobody even talks about her class. They talk about her as a tennis player. Like, it's only when we talk about football and basketball do we have this weird duality that there's supposed to be some academic payment. Most of the students that play at the top programs, let's say the top 15 programs, I would say, maybe this is being very mean, but I'd say most of those players, 70% of those players, probably wouldn't be welcomed on those campuses or wouldn't pass through their admissions. The only reason they're passing through those admission doors is to play that sport. And they're exploiting them, getting money off of their backs and off of their bodies. So, and I'm not even saying that they should be paying them. What I'm saying is, if I come into high school as a 5-star recruit and I can walk in and get me a local Aurelio's pizza deal, he should be able to get that, and he should be able to use that for himself. Now, when you start talking about the Nikes, and I mean, you think about the Fab Five, and I remember Jalen Rose, and this always stuck out to me. Jalen Rose said, we're walking past the store, and they're selling our jerseys in the Foot Locker with our names on them. But he's like, I'm not getting any money, and I had to go borrow some money to get a pizza to take my girl out. Like, that has to stop, because they are playing pro sports. They don't play for free. They charge to get in the games. They charge the networks for the TV. That's pro. Anytime money starts to change hands, it's professional. So all it is it's minor league ball. They don't call minor league baseball not pro. It's pro. It's just not major league. College football, college basketball is minor league sports. They're unpaid. That has to be fixed.
So I think a couple of things where my point of contention would be is that you start talking about, when they turn pro, a tennis player, Coco Gauff, she's pro. If she's pro, she can make her money.
Yeah.
So if an NFL or a college player turns pro, that's a completely different discussion.
But let me just check that point.
Takes money, they turn in pro.
But what I'm saying, no, the gymnast, a gymnast, I'm saying this because you pointed to
Tiger Woods,
but you
had to turn pro to get money.
But let me go back. I can pull the tape up. But we ain't so far that you don't remember what you said. You said, I'm concerned about giving an 18-year-old that type of money. What's the difference if the 18-year-old plays for Clemson or the 13-year-old does flips for the USA? Like the pro amateur thing, it's a non-issue because money is changing hands. It's just not going to the talent on the field.
I think that if
because your point was about the age, it wasn't about the amateurism.
Yeah, but let's not act like the players that we're talking about here come from the strongest family dynamics, the family background. Coco Gauff, normally the kids that participate in tennis, they have both of their parents.
But why do you care?
Because what I'm talking about.
Why do you care what his home life is?
Because the reason why,
if he tricks off $100,000, that's his business.
Exactly, but I don't. But if you're going to get the opportunity to have that, then there should be some incentive to be able to take care of that cash. You don't want to give a kid $100,000 who comes from a disadvantaged background and may not be able to handle that. That's what I'm talking about.
First of all, I don't think you're giving.
We're talking about disadvantage.
I think there's so many, I think there's so many code words that you're using right now that are talking points for the mainstream. We're giving him $100,000. Nobody's giving him shit. He's putting up. If you're talking about a football player, he's putting his body on the line. He's going to class. He's weightlifting. He's committed. Nobody's giving him. If there was an outside force that wanted to come in and give him $100,000 to promote pizza because he scored 3 touchdowns this weekend. Nobody gave him that. He earned that right to get that money. There's no gifts. Nobody's asking to give these guys gifts. What I'm saying is if you can exploit yourself, and I don't care if you're a football player, I don't care if you do construction, why does when it comes to this, when it comes to Clemson, when it comes to Penn State, when it comes to Oregon, with a minute that you step on those campuses, then somehow we got a whole different set of rules for you. But if you're 18 years old on the street, nobody cares whether the 18-year-old kid on the street, the kids have been working in this country, actors, actresses, kids that do commercials, all sorts of stuff. They get money. Nobody sits there and worries about their family dynamic, how they gonna spend their money. Nobody cares. How come when the dude put on the Oregon uniform, now we worried about how his family life is and whether or not he's gonna trick the money off?
I've always been worried about if you give kids too much money too fast. It's the reason why you don't give your son a Ferrari at 16 years old. So you want to
who gives a Ferrari? Like, you either got it or you don't. Somebody earned that Ferrari.
Yeah, but you're talking about putting on an Oregon uniform or a Georgia uniform. You're instantly talking about money that's in the 6 figures. So you're not talking about a kid that's 18 years old working up at the Foot Locker. making $1,000 a month.
But you're also not talking about Coco Gauff, who's making millions of dollars through endorsements.
But she's a pro. She's a pro athlete.
But these guys are pros too.
No, they're amateurs. If they want to go pro, their status. What are you talking? This is not hyperbole. I'm not exaggerating.
But what I'm saying is, what makes it pro is that they charge to get in. They charge for the jersey. They charge for everything. The only thing that's not happening is the money's not trickling.
And
down.
they charge for amateur golf tournaments. They charge for amateur amateur tennis. So what are you talking about?
What I'm saying is that what if you're getting money for something, it's no longer not pro. Pro means everybody's here is doing this for a living. Everybody in college sports is doing it for a living. When Zion walked into that arena to play basketball for Duke, the coach that he plays for is getting $6 million from Nike. Nobody gives a shit if Coach K wears Nikes. They care that Zion wears Nike. So Zion's wearing a shoe that he don't even get a choice in because he chose a Nike school, and all that money is going to Coach K. Everybody who walks in that arena, the announcers that are announcing the game for both teams, everything that's going on is creating and generating economics. And the people who are putting on the show don't get it. They're not getting anything. And when you don't tell me that they're getting an education and all of that, you get an education, especially in 2019, you get an education to better your life. So if you can eliminate that step to just be in a better life because your talent is that rare and that unique, then you should absolutely be able to get it. And Duke University or Notre Dame or Penn State or Oregon or USC should not stand in the middle of that. Not so for 3 years they can exploit your talent for their personal gain and for the universities, endowments, and all that type of stuff that are the school that they wouldn't have had your ass at anyway if you couldn't score them touchdowns.
So we're talking about them not being able to, not necessarily being able to take advantage of an education, which is the biggest divider in wealth in this country. So if the
biggest divider in wealth in this country is money. Who got it, who don't? Because not everybody who got money got it through an education.
No, but 90, probably over 99%. That's the difference. Because
you think 99%? So
okay. So go knock on the project doors of any project here and see how many of them got 4-year degrees.
No, I'm not saying that.
And then go in your neighborhood. Go in your neighborhood.
Does Mark Zuckerberg have a
you don't?
Does he have a degree?
You're smarter than to use an aberration to make your point.
No, but what I'm saying, you said 90%.
Knock on the doors in your neighborhood and see how many people got 4-year degrees or master degrees in your neighborhood, in my neighborhood.
Yeah, but
that's what we're talking about.
But also,
don't use Mark Zuckerberg or the fact that Bill Gates dropped out. Don't use the aberration.
I'm not using they're not aberrations.
Education is the biggest divider in your ability to make income in this country. But that's what it is.
First of all, I understand what the point that you're trying to make. But
don't use Mark Zuckerberg or aberration to make your point.
Don't use Georgia football don't use Georgia football as an example of people trying to educate people. When they get Deontay Swift to come play football, they don't give a shit about his academics. He's there to score touchdowns.
But he should.
So if he's scoring touchdowns, he should be able to cash in on it.
But he should. That's the point.
He's there to play a sport.
He should. He should care.
Why do you assume
and that's the reason why
makes money, he doesn't no longer care about
and
his
that's
education?
the reason why they end up broke after they get finished making all that money. At some point, you have to increase your financial literacy. And if you can go to school and do that, then you should.
But why are you
So get the money. Take your financial courses, take a marketing course to understand how the endorsements work, to understand how the marketing works.
Where do you stand on the issue? Because on one hand, you're saying, well, I don't think they should be able to do it or whatever. Are you saying they should be able to capitalize or not?
What I said was I think there's layers to it, and I think they should be capped, and I also think that there should be some sort of incentive based on maybe
Why do you have to have an incentive for something you already accomplished?
Because I want you to go to school.
You not think that?
I want you to, it's my opinion. I want the kids to go to school to take full advantage of these educations that white people have all the time.
When they get in college, I want all those kids that I see run out on Saturday to take full advantage of everything they get. That's why I look at graduation rates. That's why with my school that I follow, I'm proudly follow Notre Dame because they graduate 95% of their black athletes. So whether you went there to go to the pros or whether you went there to get an education, they're doing right by those black athletes in that football program. But when you see other schools that are out here graduating 15, 20, 30% of their players, I want them all to get their degrees, but that's individual things. That's individual. That's a secondary issue. You're there to play football, and if you scored 4 touchdowns that weekend, or even if you're the softball chick who hit 3 home runs and played on ESPN in the softball championship, and now the local car dealership want to give you some money, you should be able to take that too. And I don't care if you come from a good house or a bad house. If you hit 4 home runs for UCLA on ESPN and all of a sudden your name is in the mainstream, go get your money.
I just think it would be a tragedy.
It's a free market.
I think it's a tragedy to hear stories about Antoine Walker, Andre Rison, guys that didn't get their degree, that made upwards of $40 or $50 million and squandered it because they didn't have the financial literacy. They didn't understand the power of the economics that they had at the time. And I think that you can do that. The biggest divider I see all the time is when you have an opportunity to go to school and you take advantage of it. If you can, and what I mean by take advantage of it, be able to get your degree, be able to be prepared for the financial windfalls that you have. I don't want to see guys out here,
who wants to see that?
I'm saying me.
I'm saying who wants to see anybody squander $50 million or $100,000?
But that's the point.
That's my point.
Most pro athletes end up broke.
Okay. So the point is,
how many of them got 4-year degrees that end up broke?
So what I'm saying
is get your education and get the money. That's all I'm saying.
But my thing is this:
if you want academically.
But how do you? Okay, first of all, you're talking because you're mixing apples and oranges. You're saying Antoine Walker went to play in the pros and squandered $50 million.
$100 million, he did.
$100 million. Yeah. And we see it all the time. Financial literacy is a real problem in our community. But you got to make money. If you have a rare skill, the way this country works, if you have a rare skill and rare talent, you can capitalize on it. That's the example that I was using about Zuckerberg or anybody that dropped out. They have a rare ability. Zuckerberg's skill is more rare probably than anybody's in the country, which is why he gets the bread that he gets. If you coming out of high school, you're 18, and you have a rare skill, you can run really fast, you can score touchdowns, you should be able to take advantage of it. Now, here's one of the problems. The setup in the system doesn't even allow them to go and say, look, I belong, because some kids don't belong in college. Some kids belong on a construction site. Some kids belong on a football field. Some kids belong in a recording studio where we are. Not everybody's pathway is through that four-year traditional education. Mine wasn't. I have an education through working and being in my industry. And I've learned things about money through losing it and making it, but that's my path. And if a kid comes out and he can dunk and play ball, why should the NBA or the NCAA or the NFL even mandate that he show up at that campus? So even for 1 year.
I agree. For 1 year. No, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I do agree with you should be able to, if you want to go pro. But I think once you enter school, I think that there should be an incentive because what you're talking about, that rare skill has an expiration date. And the problem is for all those guys that are losing their money, they can't run the routes as crisp as they used to run them. They can't jump as high as they used to. So after when you're no longer able to earn that extreme financial windfall in that short amount of time, did you set yourself up to be successful after that? And I think that for the most part, when you find athletes that have gone through that 4-year process, when you find guys that have gotten a chance to grab that degree, like then those guys are generally more acceptable on a higher percentage to be able to monetize other talents after that. Even if it's their old playing days, they're still able to figure out ways to monetize that experience through camps or through nonprofit organizations or through, getting behind a microphone or however they see fit. You just generally see, that when they're able to do that. So think about this, right? One of the reasons why education in underserved communities is struggling so bad is because people want to make money now. They're like, hey, this dope money finna feed my family now. And so I think that if you can if kids knew they can go to college and get paid and still play their sport, but they would have to, because they don't see how this social study class in the 10th grade is going to help them, with help mama pay the bills. But if you get to school and you're able to make the money that you're talking about making, but also you're incentivized in order to keep getting the money that you have to have some sort of academic requirement. I think that that's a fantastic way to get both done. That's just.
Yeah, I mean, it's overused, but we just gonna agree to disagree on that point because I think if you 6'6" and you can catch alley oops and you can shoot the three, you've already done what you needed to do to separate yourself and and express your rare skill. And you don't need any other incentive other than the playing time, other than to be able to get on the court, to get off the bench and on the court so you can shine and do what you do. Like, I don't know why there should be yet another carrot dangled to say, well, now if you do this other thing for me.
Like get your education?
Well, get your education is the right of each individual.
You don't think that's good?
But it's not that I don't think it's good. I think that's to the decision
of
each family. I think each individual family has to decide what level of education that they want. Like if I left high school and decided to go get a trade, which is a problem because in this country, dudes used to leave high school and go get trades, and then they can feed their family. They can work work on cars. They can build houses. I don't see people doing that stuff anymore because we forced this idea that college and the university automatically gives you a better life. Now we got a whole generation of kids living in their parents' basements with $150,000 worth of student loans that they can't pay, and somebody paying them $38,000, $48,000 a year. Now, you telling me the kid that can make $100,000 through his college years or $100,000 a year through his college years should be incentivized or somehow have that opportunity taken away? If you can get your money at 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, get your money. And then it's easy, like my man Gerald Busby used to say, then you can tell your story from the mountaintop. Let me get my $100 million and see if I can figure out financial literacy from there. Like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, yeah, and then to incentivize me to continue to play basketball for you and to be able to make a couple of dollars when I'm making you millions, yeah, go to my finance class. Like, that's your thing. My thing is I have a rare skill, and that's why you send your kid to basketball camps. You're putting in the work now. Just because it's not traditional education doesn't mean that it doesn't lead to the same place. We ain't all going there through the same door. I understand what you're saying. If a traditional education gets you where you need to be, then you should absolutely do it. But if LeBron, he seems well-educated to me.
That's another aberration.
It might be.
That's another aberration.
But so did Antoine Walker. What Antoine Walker did after he got his money.
That's the standard. Most guys end up going broke, and it's because they don't have financial literacy.
I don't think that most guys end up going broke.
That's the statistic. It's 70%. What are we talking about? This is incontrovertible data.
What's the data relative to the people who go to college?
Well, the relative to the people that go to college, let's just drive around the most affluent neighborhoods and let's just look at it. And you drive around, like I said, go to the roughest parts. Go to the roughest parts of this town. Go to the roughest parts of this town. Knock on the doors and see how many of them have degrees in economics, finance, veterinarians. None of them.
But you know what they also have? They also have rare skill.
I'm talking about.
If you're a brain surgeon, you have a rare skill.
But guess what you got?
And you needed an education to get it.
Yes.
But your rare skill is what paid you.
But the point is, though, is that rare skill, he was able to monetize that through going through education. What I'm saying is.
But that's not the path for everybody to that same life.
Yeah, but that's a short-sighted view. If you can make $500,000 by the time you're 22, you should go out and do that. And I'm saying,
why not?
I'm saying, yeah, you should absolutely do it. But how did you make that $500,000? Did you make it through dunking? Well, you better figure out a way to make you another $500,000 should you get a knee injury or when that time comes to an end, because it will come to an end.
The same risk.
Then you have to be able to.
But that risk exists for everybody who does well.
Yeah, but I think
if I'm doing well and then I get in a car accident on my way home from work, my wife and my family got to figure it out.
So
we all live under that.
So let's not develop our minds to be able to make sure.
Who's saying
like, what
don't
are we doing?
Develop your mind? My mind is developed fine, and I've never been on anybody's university.
You're another aberration.
I'm not an aberration. Because you're acting like education only comes through one door. You can learn and become an expert at something other than going to Clemson or going to Georgia or going to Notre Dame.
You can do anything. Anything
like
is possible.
I think what you're selling is a big lie, that if you show up on campus and you get a 4-year degree, that you're going to become a veterinarian.
I'm not.
Go ask all these kids with these degrees that's living at their parents' house.
You increase the probability to have your financial success last longer.
Not if your skill ain't rare.
What do you mean your skill ain't rare? How many 55-year-old people you know dunking? It's a fleeting skill.
No,
and it's short-sighted, your view. Your view is short-sighted.
No, everybody who's extremely wealthy, and I guarantee you, when you talk about drive through the neighborhood, you can come out of college and get a job making $48,000 or $38,000 a year. I hire them people all the time. So their education didn't make them an expert enough to come in here and make a difference where I had to pay them more.
How many people you know that don't have degrees are hiring people with degrees. At some point we have to use a regular base of what's going on in the world.
So the regular base of the kid who's got $200,000 worth of student loans and living in their parents' basement, you telling me that that's what AOC and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, they up here running entire campaigns on how the fact that your education doesn't get you what it used to get. There's a whole movement of people out here that are saying, we're up under these student loans and I make $40,000 a year.
So are you saying that So I guess what you're telling me,
I'm saying boil it down to just
by that logic,
is lazy.
By that logic, then, well, no, it's not, because by that logic, you're saying don't go to school.
I'm not saying don't go to school.
$200,000, you can't do this, and you can't do that. I'm telling you, the banners that hang out my subdivision have Emory, Georgia. There ain't no banners hanging outside the project of kids that are graduating, going to school. And I think if you have an opportunity to go to school and get an education through your talent of being able to dunk a basketball or catch touchdowns, you got to be able to take advantage of that.
Who's disagreeing with that? What I disagree with is you're saying that once the kid puts himself in that position, once he's gone through all the camps, once he's gone through all the personal instruction, once he's done what he's got to do to get on the campus and play in front of 90,000 people every Saturday, does he have the right to cash in on that without an additional incentive? He's got to stay eligible. He's got to keep a certain grade point average. He had to have a certain ACT or SAT to get in there. So now in order for him to get a couple little dollars for the shit he did, we got to incentivize him a little more and go, well, y'all want you to take a couple finance classes to appease me?
Well, no, I think it's the same incentive. I think that incentive, theoretically speaking, this is pie in the sky talk here, what I'm saying. I think that if kids knew they could make, let's say, $1,000 or $2,000 per C or B in high school, they'd be more apt to, in urban communities, they'd be more apt to stay in school and get those grades. And I think that if you can apply some sort of monetary goal behind that, then I think that would be because the problem with to me in the urban communities isn't that they don't have the aptitude to be able to go to school and make these great grades. I think that they don't see the immediate payoff right then and there. And if there was some sort of way, like what I'm talking about, I think that they'd be more motivated to go in and engage in their studies.
I understand what you're saying, and I think it's two different. I think what you're talking about is a much bigger and much more important issue about why poverty happens.
You know, and full disclosure to everybody, Mark knows I'm a big education. And not that he's not, but I've been harping on our private discussion that I think the biggest divider in economics is education. So I'm a lot biased towards that piece of it. I as a person with, I'll say I won't say more experience, but I'll say a different pathway. I've been an entrepreneur. I've worked for myself my entire career, minus 2 years where I was executive vice president of A&R operations at Epic Records, a division of Sony. And I did that based on what I've learned and what I've developed over the years. Everybody around me, my assistant, not my assistant, but everybody else's assistant, every intern had more traditional education than me. I wasn't the highest paid person in the company, but let's just say I was maybe, if I had to guess, I was in the top 6 or 7 of a company with hundreds of people. And all the people below me had traditional education. Mm-hmm. And the point that I'm saying is the path to being educated and to being able to do a job is a different path for everybody. I got there because I have rare skill. What I teach my children, what I teach the people who come in and around me is become excellent at your rare skill. I don't do everything right. I don't know a lot of anything. If you took me out of this and said, go run a division at B of A, I could not do that. But I'm an expert at what I do. I know how to cash in, and I know how to cash out. And what I preach to the people that I'm around, whether you're in school or not, my son-in-law is in school and going to law school. He can take care of the school part. He goes to law school next year. He got that. None of that shit means anything to me unless he develops a skill of closing deals and being able to go in and work a room and close a room. Because as an attorney, that's what's going to matter. Him learning the law
ain't gonna help him when he comes over here and gets in here with me.
But would you venture to say that the B of A that you mentioned, the higher you go up the trough in pay scale, you're generally going to find higher education?
No question.
So what we're talking about in music is a very unique situation.
But we're also talking about rare skills.
Where you find but music is a rare skill to have. People can't just identify talent. They can't just play the piano. They can't just do what Alicia Keys does. These are ain't no school gonna help them be able to do that. But if you're talking about Bank of America, if you're talking about FedEx, if you're talking about working at First Data or Equifax or any of these companies, to get in the door, you have to have a degree. And the further you go up, you'll find that these people have bachelors of art or MBAs or these
Sure.
degrees. And so I feel like you're talking about a unique situation, which is the reason why you have been reluctant to speak at schools, because you realize how rare it is for someone like yourself to get to where you're trying to get to.
Nah, I don't like to speak at schools because I think at the end of the day, I don't want to give anybody the sense that this is an alternative, like a shortcut or a different way. Not everybody's cut out for this business. And the point that I'm trying to make
But
to
you would say most aren't cut out.
And I listen, I can tell you from also from this standpoint. Let's take music out of it. Let's talk about medicine. I've had cancer in my family. My dad, my cousin just went through a bout. My brother went through a bout. Cancer survivors. You can go to medical school. You can get the degree. You can get everything. All them doctors ain't the same. Just because everybody went to medical school don't make them the same.
Yeah.
Every doctor ain't the same.
No, they're not created equal.
Rare skill is what pays you. Rare skill is what saves lives.
But if you a doctor,
researching is what
you ain't broke.
No, you're not broke.
That's the point.
You're absolutely not broke.
You could be the lowest
but just because
doctor and you still gonna be straight.
You can also be somebody who's broke or living check to check with a degree. I think it's not saying enough to say if you get your education, because I think that's also been part of the black community. We've all heard that growing up. Go to school. We used to say go to school and get your lesson. Go to school and get your education. But there's more to the sentence. Go to school, get your education, apply it, like become an expert, develop a rare skill, because that's what pays you. Like, no disrespect to anybody that works hard, blue-collar worker, but like, you can get anybody to drive a bus. That's not a rare skill. That's why I don't pay that great. But to cut through somebody's skull and operate on their brain is unique. That's why he gets that money.
I can't do that.
No, everybody can't do it. So I preach rare skill, because if your talent is painting, just become great at it. And you don't have to go to school to get that. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, we went way longer on that subject. You got me sweating over here, mad. You got me upset.
You know, when I saw this on our schedule to talk about, I felt like it could go a little long.
And I just shout out to Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, governor of California for initiating what I think is some of the most important legislation, and we can get to the business of obliterating the idea of amateurism, because it's not an amateur sport.
LeBron creating a platform? That's big for him to get that signature on his show.
And it's just another example of LeBron's greatness that can't be hated on by me. This guy has been Michael Jordan in some respects. And I heard somebody say this the other day. It's not mine, but I forget who said it. No, Shannon Sharp said it. He said he's Michael Jordan in some regard, and he's Muhammad Ali in some regard. I mean, he just sort of like, he just brings a lot, and he's Magic. That's what he said. He's a mixture of Michael with the shoes and Magic with the business, and Muhammad Ali with the activism. And you can't respect him enough. Like, I don't care. I prefer he never win another championship. And I'd like to see the declining in his on-the-court skills, but he has my full support in all of the endeavors off the court.
He's fantastic, man. Fantastic. So, shit. I thought, when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. He's going to sign the bill on under. I was like, that's about to happen.
And that stuff scares so many people, that LeBron has no apologies to offer to anybody about how bold he is with his beliefs. And he puts his money where his mouth is, and he puts the corporations who want to be in business with him, he puts their money where his mouth is too. So he's really smart that way. And shout out to his team and state of California for, again, leading the way. California leads the way in a lot of stuff. It's a lot of people don't look at California like this. I heard somebody say this the other day as well. California is for the worker. Like, it's for the worker. Like, everybody thinks of it like, rich people living in the hills, but like, you live in California, there's a lot of things that you have to do to protect the people who work for you. And they fighting for the little man. In this case, they're the little man.
They do. They have some of the best laws for employees. Back when I was working in banking, I didn't get any paternity leave. I got it, but it was unpaid. And they were like, if you were in California, you'd be paid. And I was like,
yeah. No, California gets down for the working man. And you don't think of California in that way, but they're fully committed to it from the top of their government.
They're liberal.
In some places. Going to a much less sophisticated conversation, I want to talk a little bit about, as I think we're going to run long today, so let's touch on this.
I'm ready.
Dame and Shaq are beefing and rapping. And rap beefing.
Beefing and rapping.
And rapping and beefing.
Rapping and beefing, yeah.
Like, so if I understand how it went down, I guess, and tell me if I got the order wrong, Dame goes on the Joe Budden podcast, and somebody asked him about Shaq and having sold platinum and gold. And I think I'm paraphrasing, but he says, like, Shaq is not a rapper, Shaq was just rapping, or something that sort of diminished what Shaq had accomplished as a rapper. And then, did Shaq make the first diss record?
Shaq went off, yeah. So basically, Dame Dollars went on the Joe Budden podcast, which after watching really gave me confidence. Anyway, point is
it's a top podcast, though, bro.
Yeah, which gave me immense confidence.
It's about connection.
But okay,
he's connected.
Well, what the hell? I have even more confidence now.
He's connected.
As I pan to my right. Speaking of connections, but he went on there and he said they were giving him props like oh man, you wanted the dopest out there that's a ball player and rapping. And Dame was like, nah, I feel like I'm the best to ever do it. And they were like, well, you and Shaq. And he was he started like kind of making this little face like, and he was like, and they were like, nah, Shaq had joints. Shaq had some good records. And he was like, man, he's like, you feel like you better than Shaq? He was like, yeah, I feel like I rap better than Shaq. And that's how it all started. Yeah. So and then he elaborated. He went on to say that, man, people didn't look at like Shaq as no rapper. They looked at it as Shaq and he's rapping. It wasn't like Shaq and Biggie, like mentioned in the same breath. So,
but ain't nobody's mentioning Dame and Biggie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Nobody's mentioning Dame and Kendrick.
Right.
To me, they're the same. They're both ball players
that rap in their spare time.
And I think that the novelty that neither one of them were whack makes people feel like they're actually better than they actually were. Now, as it relates to Shaq, but I got to give Shaq the nod because I actually listened to Shaq's first album, Shaq Diesel. I like Outstanding. I like Can We Rock, which is on his first album. I think it was on his Fushnickens album as well. But I liked his first 4 singles. And the album went platinum, which isn't, I guess, in the hip-hop world always a measure of someone's skills. But me, coming from a pop music background, I always like to see some sort of success in the record sales.
Yeah, if you get a certification, like
and his first album went platinum, his second album went gold. He's got a couple of gold singles. Yeah. So, for me, I still have to give the nod to Shaq. Not saying that Dame can't come on strong, but to me, like Dame trying to set, and in fact, I will say I'll give Shaq, even a trailblazer in that regard. Give him that moniker, being that he's the first real rapper MC or rapper athlete that actually got kind of that respect, where it's like, okay, he can rap. And so I think that Dame should probably be, not even if you want to take it from a basketball perspective or an artistic perspective, that, you're really looking at kind of like, one of your forefathers, if you will, particularly on the hip hop to NBA basketball perspective.
Because many have tried and failed.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, because
we're not even going to talk about it. That's a whole show.
And Lonzo's still failing.
We can do a whole show of just rappers who failed. Yeah. Like, in fact, let's do a whole show of rappers who failed. We don't have to talk about it right now. Yeah. I think that, here's what I think, and I think you hit it dead on the head. I think Dame Dollar, because now I'm annoyed. Like, I came in here before a few podcasts ago and was like, no, he's nice with it.
Bars.
Now I'm annoyed because I think he's taking it entirely too serious. you're a ball player.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah. No, you did say it.
They're taking themselves way
No,
too seriously.
no, you said it.
I
That's
said
what-
that?
No, I said.
Okay.
That's why I agree with you.
I didn't remember if I said it or not.
Maybe you didn't say it exactly like that,
Okay.
but that's effectively what you were saying. Is that you're a basketball player who raps.
Yeah.
It's a novelty. We think it's interesting. It's
Yes.
like the monkey that juggles. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh shit,
He's juggling knives.
He's juggling knives. It's a monkey. You know, it's a novelty thing.
Oh, now you got an axe. And it's on fire.
But I'm not, because I had somebody, and I'm gonna call him by name. My boy Mac Bailey. He's in Colombia, Bogota, working.
Ooh.
And we've been texting, and he came like, yo, Dame killed Shaq. He killed Shaq. Now let me say this. I didn't hear Shaq's rap yet.
Pretty good.
I didn't hear it. I just heard Dame going and using a bunch of punchlines that I didn't think were true. Like, you can't, first of all, you can't say Kobe won you 3 rings when Shaq had the MVP in those 3.
Yeah.
You know,
And his numbers, I think he were averaging like 34
Yeah.
and like 15.
so yeah, your punchline, it played well, but it wasn't fact-based.
Right.
The stat lines do actually matter, even in rap. Then he was saying stuff like, you know, like everything he was saying, he was like, "Oh, you in blue chips, but I'm in
Space Jam?
Space Jam." But I'm like, you're not the star of Space Jam. He was the star of Blue Chip. He's the reason why we went to the movies.
Facts.
Nobody's going to the movies to see Dame Dolla in that movie. We going to see LeBron. Stop. Shaq is relevant. Icy Hot, Buick, Insurance, Papa John's, Five Guys.
The general
The
insurance.
General.
Want to save online? Go to the general and save
Ring.
on time. Burn.
Ring.
Yes.
Shaq on my TV all day, every day.
Krispy Kreme.
Then where's Dame at? Like, to me,
He
I
on-
felt
he-
like
he
Dame,
on social media.
if you want to beef with somebody, beef with like Otto Porter. Like, beef with somebody at your level.
Yeah. Well, that's what I
Like,
was
come
thinking.
at Otto Porter. Come at like regular dudes. Don't come at no legend. Don't come at no icon.
Yeah.
And then you actually brought your contract up. Man, I still think Shaq ain't spent none of his basketball money.
So for those of you that don't know, Shaq was not notorious, but he was well known for not spending.
This is before the direct deposit.
Not spending any of his game checks.
Yeah, they would have to tell him, as I understand the story, they would have to tell him to deposit his checks.
Oh, they were gonna
They were going to expire or something.
So yeah, so he didn't spend any of his rookie money for like a long time.
Yeah.
So he just lived off of his endorsements, and kudos to him. He took a marketing class, the one that he took a marketing
In
class.
that 1 year. No, he stayed for 2 years.
Yeah, he
actually.
stayed for 2
For that
seasons,
2 years
maybe
he was
3.
at no, it was 2.
That's right,
At
2.
LSU.
But he took a marketing course, and his marketing teacher told him, because he said something to the effect of, I'd like to have, be a star. Like, he's like, and his marketing teacher told him, that can't be you. And I'm paraphrasing the conversation, but he basically told him that Shaq was not going to be able to do it because of the position that he played and how big he was. And generally the marketing, the best deals go to, guys that have smaller
Look like
sizes.
the everyday guy.
And he set out to basically prove him wrong.
He
and
did.
he's still proving
Shaq
him
1,
wrong.
LSU professor 0.
Yeah, and maybe I need to remove him. And Shaq went back and got his degree too.
Yeah.
But
Online.
Yeah, nah.
No, he got University of Phoenix.
Antonio, no, I think he went to the graduation with the thing. Vince Carter got his degree from
University
UNC
of
too.
Phoenix got regular graduation.
Well, hey, he got it though. Okay, let's see if it's
Trump
Phoenix,
University, he got
Oh man, you don't want that. You
No,
Antonio
but,
Brown.
No, but my man hit me from Bogota like, yo, he murdered him, he murked him, blah, blah, blah. And then I listened to it, I'm like, okay, the stuff here is not real. And then I'm thinking, like, I like Dame as a player. I liked him as a rapper, but you're out of you just out of your realm right now. Like, just leave Shaq alone. Shaq is an icon. Play at the level you play at. Get you a ring. Get yourself close to a ring. Get yourself to a Western Conference Final Game 7 before you even beef with anybody.
Right.
Because especially if you're going to bring up rings and then you have no rings.
You don't have any rings.
So you literally meticulously went through and tried to take away his 4 while you have none. Now, if Kobe and Shaq was beefing, and it was like, I got 5, you got 4, I did this, you did that. That's perfectly reasonable. Dame, you got nothing.
You got nothing.
Where's your endorsements? We don't know.
He got Adidas. That's it. Yeah.
Do they got a commercial?
I ain't seen it.
If it come on, it come on late.
It coming late.
Like on
during uncut.
They don't even have uncut.
Then it probably don't come on.
No. So Dame, I'm gonna just tell you,
it was running while uncut was on.
Dame, fall back. You barking up the wrong tree.
Hey, we love you as a basketball player.
Nah, man, you a good player, but you ain't Shaq. Even in there, Shaq got you.
Yeah,
Shaq got you, and there's not anything in the world, Dame. Let me say this to you. There is not anything in the world that I would take you in over Shaq.
I believe
rapping, endorsements. I didn't even say endorsements. I said endorsements. Nothing.
Shaq said in his rhyme that he still makes more than him annually. Like right now.
Yeah, you don't think so? That's what I said.
No, I believe
he called out. Yeah, I got the $200 million. I'm like, one, you just got that. You knew money.
Well, and it's over like 5 or 7 years.
Yeah, Shaq is getting bread through his investments. He's killing the game. He's one of the great examples of kind of like go be a pitchman. He's like literally turned into like Arnold Palmer. Him and Peyton Manning.
Yeah, and he just got he's doing a cruise line too. I ain't even heard that. Cruise line. Yeah, he's on the cruise ship like going.
You know what? I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
I saw that. I thought that was just Shaq on the boat.
No, he's in.
Because Shaq's everywhere.
Captain Shaq.
Shaq's on the boat.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about. Let's get into because I always like to focus on guys who I just want to make me scratch my head. This kid Vontaze, but he's not a kid. He's a grown man.
Ted.
First of all, his name is spelled Vontaze.
Vontaze.
But everybody says Vontaze.
Yeah,
Vontaze. Vontaze perfect.
Which is very southern, even though he's from Cali.
He's from
LA.
He's from California.
The Centennial?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ted, boy. I wonder if his mama from like Macon.
Yeah, everybody, man, there was a migration.
It was.
You know, we all our roots come from the same place.
Sure enough.
All of them. All of us fancy
now
Northerners.
all of a sudden we start getting more Show enough.
You know, us fancy Northerners, you know, we all still come. Our parents were from down here.
That's right.
You know, so Vontaze managed to get himself, like, I think that Vontaze is the dirtiest player in modern football. Like, I'm not talking about like the
Bill Romanowski.
I think he's past that.
He spit.
He went past
JJ Stokes'
JJ
mouth.
Stokes' mouth.
That's I ain't seen nothing. Oh, worse than that. Now, Albert Haynesworth did the Hulk Hogan. He took the man's helmet off and stepped on Andre Gerard, the center, twice.
Yeah.
You know how mean you got to be? 30 stitches
Yeah,
that man needed.
but both of those guys, 1-2 of incidents at that level.
Spitting in another man's, that's
off
number
the chart.
one.
Off
that's
the chart.
number one.
That's off the chart.
Like, JJ Stokes should still be looking for Romo.
But he absolutely should. Vontaze Burfict has been doing this since college. Nonstop through all his time in Cincinnati. And then again at Oakland. And he doesn't seem to learn that it's costing him money. And maybe I put too much money. Maybe I'm just like a money whore or something like that. But to me, you don't play with the money, or what the kids say, you're messing up the bag. You don't mess up the bag.
No.
He's messing up the bag.
You don't, you want to try to protect the bag.
You protect the bag at all costs.
Right.
This guy's had over $5.3 million in fines and lost salary due to suspension.
Yeah, and I think
that's a lot.
Maybe he just that unwired, unhinged.
Did you see him running off the field?
Yes,
blowing kisses.
And I thought, we were texting about that, and I said, I think that's probably going to be the death knell, because you at least want to show some sort of contrition, particularly given your body of work as it relates to suspensions and fines and the way that you got them, which is through dirty hits. So, but I was thinking about it this morning, and I said, I blame his mama.
Vontaze. Yeah.
Vontaze, that's another, you didn't really give him a lot of options, and he trending towards down that way. And I'm like, had we had that black quality control name agent in that birthing room, we could have stopped all this.
Just to run the run it through the system.
Computer, yeah,
And
because
say Vontez is likely to come back suspended from NFL games, like something along that line.
Well, first it's suspended from school.
Yeah.
You know, then it's kicked out of school. Then he had to reform school. Then
Or the secondary, what they call it? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I think that I mean you didn't Inspector General wasn't one of the jobs that he
that come up when you say Vontez.
Yeah, Vontez and them. So I think and it got me to thinking like we need to do like a moratorium, like just a embargo on like anything that end in like Avius. You know what I'm saying? Like Don Travius, you know, or basically the 3-syllable names. You know what I'm saying? Like Jaquante, you know, the 3-syllable names. The system when we pull up in the birthing room is gonna be like automatic passes for 1-syllable names. You know, Chris, Mark,
Todd.
Yeah, Todd. You know, and then 2-syllable names gonna have a high approval as well.
Yes.
You know, but 3-syllable names, I think should just be like a 5-year ban on those because yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like Tequarius, you know, Jaquavius. You know, I just think that you not giving us a fighting chance. Justice of the peace, LaQuarius. No, man. So
it becomes limiting.
It becomes exactly, you know,
because effectively what you're saying is you're forcing that child into linebacker Jaquavius, safety Latarius,
yeah, or like you know Jiffy Lube,
if not,
yes, pull the car up, Jatavius. Hold on, right there, stop, hold on, little more, you know. So I just feel like we got to do a better job at just giving when they pick up. Oh, like I was about to say, pick up the application. I guess they don't do that anymore. They go online.
Wait, they don't have applications no more?
Yeah,
they're all online.
I mean, for the most part, right?
Dang.
Like, yeah. So if you see, you know,
I know that you literally just put me up on something.
So if you see Tequarius come up on the thing, I know if I'm looking at applications. I'm not saying I would skip it, but I may be inclined to just see what.
That's a terrible thing to say.
I'm just keeping it 100. Tequarius, I don't even want to like Tequarius.
But you don't.
He gonna be arguing every week talking about I shorted his check. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with. Hey, boss. Can I come in for a second? You know, you shorted me on my hours. I don't, and I probably did. Because your name's Tequarius. You get shorted on your hours. Sorry.
Yo, you so out of pocket right now. You so out of pocket. Listen, we had a ton of other stuff that we had to get to, but we ran a little long in the NCAA because you started. I don't know what you were doing. You were dancing. You were doing a dance that I didn't like. Got me upset.
Hot.
It's hot. The lights are hot.
Take that marketing degree if y'all gonna start getting paid. Like, let me just encourage y'all to do that. Take marketing.
Let me encourage you, but let's not make it a requirement. I can encourage you all day. I can encourage you to take advantage of your scholarship, your Division I scholarship to Clemson and Alabama and LSU. But I am not of the belief that we should be adding incentives for you to get money for your likeness and for the popularity that is developed around your skill set.
Yeah, you're going to be a part of the blowing money fast.
That doesn't mean you're blowing money fast. It's terrible. You just think so little of people.
I'm sorry, I'm just going by.
Let me get my money and then we'll figure out the literacy.
Yeah, hey, give me mine, okay?
Let me get mine and then we'll go from there.
They riding down the daggone highway with the money blowing out the window. Did you hear about the draft pick for Tampa that tried to take his game check? This is some years ago.
Don't tell me to the currency exchange.
No, took it down. So he got his first game check. This is like 15 years ago, maybe even longer. He took his game check to the dealership to buy a car.
I think I remember hearing that.
And so it was like, well, how do you here go my check, and so the dealership had to figure out how to cash it and bring him change for the car.
On that note, we're gonna go ahead and close this out. As you guys know, or you don't know, our podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any place that you would normally get audio podcasts. But we like to encourage you to also go to our YouTube channel where you can see this in its entirety, uncut, unedited, all the curse words, everything. You can see that there, and you can see that Rob tries to intimidate me with his stares and his looks when I don't agree with him. He's a bully, and you'll be able to see that. Something that you can't get through the audio.
Can y'all feel the cynicism? The facetiousness.
Also, you can follow us on our social media platforms. Statlines Matter on Instagram, on Twitter, also on Facebook. And as always, you can hit us on our hotline, which is area code 404-500-9017. You can text or leave a message. If you leave a really good question, we'll play it on the air. In the meantime, we're going to come back in a few days, wrap up this next week's football. We had a lot of football for you, so we'll bring all that football forward, and we'll talk about a lot of football next week. But in the meantime, go back, check out our old episodes, check out our new episodes. I'm Mark Stewart.
Rob Hunter.
And this is Stat Lines Matter.
Peace.
I ain't good for games. Say it to my face. Say it to my face. I ain't good for games. Say it to my face. Say it to my face.